welcome to this panel. Today we have the privilege of having a new executive role in the Pro Pádel League. And we would like to know a little bit more about why you jumped, Diane, into the Pro Pádel League. What did you see here in order to decide to go all in?
Yeah, well, first of all, Rosa, thank you for having me. Happy that we get to talk about this and share my story of how I got to Pro Pádel. We talked about it. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I moved to the US when I was 20 years old. Actually started my career in finance, did a couple of years of investment banking. Enjoyed that, learned a ton, got recruited to the NBA, the National Basketball Association. Very proud of that brand. I was at the NBA for almost a decade, and I led international strategy and business operations. So that essentially meant growing the game of basketball and monetizing it outside of the United States. Had a really great experience there, got recruited to move to Fanatics, still in sports. Fascinating company, going on the partner side, right? From managing a brand, strong brand and intellectual property, then going to a partner and learning about how a partner then monetizes and maximizes the use of that intellectual property. And then now Pro Pádel, leading all commercial. And just to answer your question directly, you know, I grew up playing tennis, among other sports. I played soccer as well as a goalie. I also swam because growing up I had asthma, and that was a way to outgrow asthma. So was very immersed in sports growing up. And so I just really have this deep passion for using sports tech as a way to bridge cultures. And I had the chance to do a lot of that during my time at the NBA when I met Mike and learned about what his vision for Pro Pádel League. And I studied the sport, and I saw that it just has all the right ingredients to really break through the very crowded U.S. sports landscape. And, you know, looking back at my career, I love challenges. I love building, starting new things, you know, strategy, vision, but then also being a part of execution. And so when the opportunity came up to lead all commercial for Pro Pádel, it was just very hard to pass up.
But based on what you've done, like the NBA is well established. Basketball is a U.S. sport.
Yes.
And also Fanatics is well known. But this is the fastest growing sport globally, but not in the U.S., although it's growing exponentially here.
Yes.
What do you see in paddle?
You know, of course, I went on the court, tested it out. It has what on the tech world, you cover tech companies. It has what you call product-led growth, right? Once you actually try it, it's quite addictive. I think because one, it's very social. It requires a level of athleticism. It requires thinking and strategy. Not, obviously sports vary, but this one in particular, it's very fast-paced. You know, you pick up a racket. It's not as difficult as tennis, where even the first session, maybe you can, if you have some background, right, like you can rally. And so, it has that virality that once you try it, then you want to continue playing. And so I saw that, and then I think also the opportunity to really build a brand and be part of the team that stands up a brand, and we have a very clear vision of what we're looking to build, and having a strong team actually. Then it was very attractive. And then, look, I started talking to people that have been exposed to the sport, that have played the sport for many years here in the US, and they are just such strong advocates that I thought that if we just get the word out, if we expose this product to as many people, that it will actually appeal to a lot of people. It's so fun to watch. It's so fun to play. And then, I look at our demographics and our audience as well. In the US, people who participate in the sport spend about $20,000, $25,000 a year to play the sport. That's because of lack of facilities. It's not as accessible. And so it's also a very attractive demographic, right? And it's also very young. You look at our YouTube streams, most of the people that watch our product, I think over 70%, even close to 80%, are people between the ages of 18 to 44. So you look at that young, affluent, and then have very strong advocacy. It just makes it so attractive. And so I think kind of widening the market and broadening the market, if we're able to unlock that, there's just so much value to be created.
Yeah, and there's something interesting too, like you were doing outside the US for NBA. Now is the way back, right? Like a sport that is well known out of the US, taking it back. So I think there are some learnings on something that you can use.
I love that observation that you've made, because that's 100%. Yeah, if I think about my personal journey and my personal trajectory, right? Even landing at the NBA, right? Coming from the Philippines, where I experienced the sport of basketball, I would watch games early in the morning because it's a 12-hour difference. And so being a fan, having that perspective, how do you experience a sport that's massive in the US and then grow it outside the US? And then my time at the NBA, I was very fortunate to have been part of the team that led selling an equity stake to outside investors in our NBA Africa entity, and also being part of the team that established the Basketball Africa League. So it's taking the NBA basketball to the continent. And then now, with Padel, taking a sport that is massive in many pockets of the world and growing very fast, and seeing if we can make it break through the US market, which is still the biggest sports market in the world, saturated, right? So, but still, kind of emerging sport and really growing very fast. So thinking about that and that challenge, that, if I manage to kind of bring a sport outside, make it grow, now taking another sport and making it grow and break through the US is just, I don't know, it's so much fun to do. It's a massive challenge, and I guess I wanted to challenge myself, work with a really strong team, and build a brand, be part of that foundation of a brand. And look, even here in Miami, you experienced our games. It's amazing being in arena, feeling that energy. You look at our athletes. They are so fun to watch, very athletic, smart, and very accomplished. And, I think if we as a league can play that role of elevating these really strong, powerful, amazing individuals and kind of, promoting them as well, I think overall they can inspire then also the next generation of paddle players. That's just, that for me is such a great thing to be able to do alongside a great team.
It's amazing. This is the third year for the PPL. And I think this time is different because at the beginning of the year, they came out with the new money raise. Like it's a decent amount of money,
right?
$11 million. It's a really good number. Plus, you joining the team and also so what are your priorities for that new, let's say, funding round? How it's going to be used in order to make it grow?
Yeah, so definitely, look, I think I'd say main priorities are, I'd say, three. One, in terms of our strategy, it's getting us broad distribution for our content. So we want people to actually see the product and experience the game wherever, right? Like be wherever they watch sports content. Two, I would say, so that's on the content and media distribution side, as wide distribution as possible, because I want that exposure for the product. I think two is getting, really our foundational partners on board. Marketing partners are obviously, the right set of marketing partners are obviously very critical to the sustainability and growth of an emerging sports league. So it's getting those right set of partners on board, ones that are not just supporting us in terms of fees. Of course, that is very important, but it's also those that make that commitment to really market and promote and grow our brand outside of actual sponsorship fees. And then being very aligned with our vision, with what we stand for, and the brand that we're building, right? So finding that alignment and finding that win-win partnership, I'd say that's the second priority. And then I'd say the third is really working with all our stakeholders. So one thing I'm very focused on, and Mike and Brian, our team as well, is making sure, right, there's many stakeholders within the paddle ecosystem, right? We have our owners, we have our athletes, we have our fans, we have other people that are also building the infrastructure that then allow for the growth of the sport here in the US. So I think for us, being that one league that is, building our own intellectual property, but also being a huge beneficiary of the growth of the sport, I think it's working together very closely and very well and collaborating with all the different stakeholders within that ecosystem so that we can then help each other and work together to really grow the pie. Because it's not so much getting just a slice of the pie, it's growing the pie so that everyone benefits.
Yeah, talking about the stakeholders and what you're saying about the marketing, I think this takes me to something. Now I'm kind of connecting the dots, but I think the Handums one with the Pro-Am, I think makes sense because it's a good experience or a good opportunity for them to connect and be closer and experience, right? So what can we expect in the different stops?
Yeah, sure. So the Hamptons should be a really fun event. It is going to be much smaller, just from a capacity standpoint, and also a different format. Our first 3 events of the season are obviously regular events where the teams then accumulate points, all preparing for New York, which is the climax of our season, right, with the City Cup finals. I'd say, look, because even for me, being fairly new to the sport, but then already have these observations of the amateurs being very passionate. So we're toying around with the idea of like, okay, how do we do like more Pro-Am events, almost like the road to the PPL, so that we're also highlighting the fans and these amateurs that are extremely passionate about the sport and leveraging them and using them as ambassadors to also grow the sport. I can't disclose like specific plans yet, Rosa, so forgive me, but I think what you can just definitely expect from us this season is, one, working very closely with our marketing partners and really just getting our brand, everything that we're doing out there, elevating our athletes, elevating our team IP as well. And then 2, getting more actively involved with the amateurs, because we're seeing a lot of different communities everywhere in the United States. And so finding a way to activate those communities, community of amateurs. And then I'd say 3, this one, is very long term, but so important, is starting to create that pipeline of U.S. talent. And work is being done already, but leaning in a bit more heavily and having maybe more structured programs to ensure that more youth actually play the sport. Is it getting into universities? It's getting into different school programs. So I'd say that's also another another initiative we're very focused on.
It's super important. It's one of the challenges that the USPA is also trying to tackle. So I think that's why important that Brittany Dabbins is being part of the PPL and also like the American face of it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, at the NBA, we had 450 players in every season. You know, we would highlight the number of international players that we have coming into the league. Here, it's super interesting. Yeah, you have pockets of the world that have the best talent. So I guess it's also increasing that diversity, right? But it's so... exactly. But... it's great though, because there is some mix already. Obviously, we can increase that, and then obviously in the U.S., you know, there's.
When you were talking about the nights watching the NBA, it took me to the years in which I didn't sleep a lot to watch the Gasols. First Pau and then Mark, because the time difference before I moved to San Francisco was huge in Spain. Right?
Yes.
So I think that would be a good sign when people have to wake up at night to see the PPL because Spanish players are here or Argentinian players are playing here. That would be a really good sign of success.
Absolutely. Well, we see our data, the traffic in our stream, so we do get significant viewers from Spain, given we have a lot of talent from Spain. So if you're seeing that's a good, definitely a great sign.
Thank you, Diane. I wanted to take more time because today is the finals day.
Yes.
So thanks for making it happen.
Okay, Rosa, thank you. Thank you for having me.